Timothy Simons. What was it like winning the Emmy First Comedy Series last year for Veep a second time? Was it different than the first time?
It was. I think there was. I mean, like the first time is always sort of the most exciting. I think one of the really cool things about last year was that it was such a vote of confidence for Dave Mandel, because that was like he had taken over the show, and so I think we were certainly excited to win it as a show last year. But I think that like most of my attention of it went to Dave, and just what a good boost that was for him, especially with how hard it is to take over showrunner duties of a show, and all of the pressure that entails. I think that was an amazing vote of confidence for him.
Yeah. And what do you feel like with this season? So like the season before, you changed to a new showrunner, a new environment, all that sort of stuff. This year, you sort of changed to being a show that dealt with an ex-presidency and a show that dealt with Jonah in Congress. What do you feel like this season the biggest sort of challenge was for you with the sort of shifting gears?
Well, I feel like we're far enough in that if it's if the storylines are political or if they're not political, that and that people like now recognize the characters, like they're coming back and forth for like whatever situation these characters might be in. They're kind of coming back for that, and the political stuff like that Jonah gets to do this year is kind of a bonus, that we can still exist outside of politics and also exist inside politics with Jonah's stuff. I thought it was. I don't know. I really enjoyed the Selena storyline this year of her trying to get her library going and dealing with legacy stuff. That is something that it almost seems like you see presidents dealing with that as their presidencies are going on, like being concerned about their legacy, like sort of preemptively, if that makes sense.
And it's sort of interesting because you don't have a whole bunch of ex-presidents. You're like,
yeah.
And they all seem to deal with it in a very different way.
Yeah, no, and I feel like, and one of the things I love about the show is that, like, Selena deals with it just through selfish means, like through she has selfish desires, and like she just wants recognition, and she wants to be respected, and she wants people to pay attention to her. It's never for the good of the people, and it never has been.
Yeah, and you've got with the Jonah storyline in Congress, you shut down government.
Mm-hmm.
What was the most fun thing for you being a congressman this year?
I feel like shutting down the government for essentially what was a petty, just like a petty reason that he just didn't get invited to a party. That was pretty fun. That the fact that the entire season sort of built to that he starts to get a little bit of power. He starts to have other congressmen and congresswomen attracted to want to team up to him to sort of start this little freedom caucus thing, that he starts to just get incrementally these little pieces of power that all lead to him shutting down the government over this petty reason of not being invited to the Meyer painting unveiling. I really did enjoy that, because even though he doesn't know what the unveiling is, he doesn't even know what it is. He just knows that he feels like he should be invited, and then it's a slight that he isn't. So it's just the pettiest of reasons. But also, like, I love that there is this love interest and like this, or I mean, if you can call it that, there's this relationship that he gets into, which kind of like to see Jonah as a boyfriend, to see Jonah in a relationship, I thought was really fun, especially because I think we took that in a somewhat unexpected way.
What surprised you most about Jonah as a congressman?
That honestly, I think it was surprising to me that, I don't know why it was surprising, because we have so many examples in the States of congressmen sort of failing upward into some sort of power, but his failing upward into power was surprising to me. You would assume that he would just fail at every level of in serving in Congress, but it actually goes really well for him, and none of it by his own none of it by his through his own intelligence or through his own guile. Like, he's a guileless person. It just kind of happens to all fall in place for him. So that was pretty surprising.
Yep. Have you heard from anyone in Congress this past year?
Not since the show has begun running, but that's not out of the ordinary. Like, I talked to a lot of congressmen and aides and congresswomen in the lead up to filming the show to try to get a sense of what it was like to be a freshman congressperson. What's it like to be in your first term in Congress? And I haven't talked to many of them since then, but that's not surprising, only in that everybody that's in politics thinks that the show is making fun of everybody else but them. And I don't know. Yeah, they don't really get in touch with us very much during. And I honestly, I'm happy with that. If they are just trying to focus on their jobs, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to be getting in touch with like a supporting character of a television show. Like, please just go to your job.
Yeah. And I bet everyone sort of says, oh, you guys do such a good job of betraying the other party.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Which I guess is Veep's strength, that you've never put your neck, like, you've never sort of gone out there and said, we're the Democrats, we're the Republicans. You were a sort of like anonymous party. Yeah,
no, I think it's always, and I think that was by design. Like, Arm never wanted it to be about partisan politics. He just wanted it to be about politics, and like, both parties do stupid things. I mean, they might all be weighted to one side a little bit more right now, but both parties do dumb things. And I think it seems silly to just cut it off, like to cut off one half of the entire political system. Like, that's off limits. You can't make fun of that. That would have been to the detriment of the show. So I think it was, yeah, we've been able to, like, even the policies that we talk about, like, some might lean a little bit right, some might lean a little bit left. So I feel like we are able to keep people guessing about what that party is.
Yeah. And I feel like, if, in some ways the last year or so has shown us some things that may have shown us that sort of policies can be a bit fair weather, like, for some at times, like, yeah. Maybe there's not always the consistency on policies with parties anyway. So
yeah.
What did you? I'm sure you. I think I know you heard the news that one of our Australian politicians had to go to hospital because of one of your scenes.
Yeah. What did we remember? Did we ever find out what scene it was? I feel like maybe that got talked about, like that was spoken to about which scene it was. Do you remember which one it was?
I think it was the scene where you were shaving your head.
Oh my God. Okay. No, I mean, I guess there was that part of me that just thought, like, dude, if, like, we'll send you, like do whatever you need to do to stay alive. Like, don't just don't watch us while eating anymore, or make sure you're watching with somebody else. Or if you need to, maybe we can get like some cuts together that have like a few fewer jokes in them. But that's the second time that Australian politicians have come up in regards to our show, because there was who was it over there that
it was the Prime Minister?
The Prime Minister used continuity with change, right?
Yeah, at a spec. Yeah.
All politicians worldwide, I feel like, should be forced to watch not only our show, but any political comedy. And they should be forced to watch Parks and Recreation. They should be forced to watch. Parks and Recreation just because it's great and it's funny and it's sort of sincere and it's sort of empathetic. And I think we could use a little bit more of that. But I think they should be forced to watch our show just so that they don't say the dumb things that we make up. Like, that's like, just, that should be rule number one for every staffer. Show your bosses this show only so that you don't do the dumb things that we do.
Yeah. Or at the very least, the staffers watch it to catch the maybe don't say that. There was a whole Veep episode on how that was the
like the dumbest tagline that you could ever have. Like, it is meaningless, and there was a whole episode around it.
Yeah, no, so that's good. Yeah, I guess I wonder if our Prime Minister watched it and it subconsciously seeped in as a thing, or if he didn't, and that's where he went wrong.
I mean, I think that, I remember Simon Blackwell talked about that when it happened, and it makes sense that there would be. It makes sense that there would be a crossover with that, because I think their intention, and I might be paraphrasing, but I think his intention and the writer's room intention in saying that was, we attempted to make up the most say nothing bullshit motto you could ever use that would offend no one, and we figured we came up with it with continuity, with change. And so it doesn't make sense. It makes sense that a politician, like in that moment, trying to grab on to something that will offend nobody and that says everything all at once, that they would find that. So kudos to the writers.
With the guy who hit his head watching a show, were you surprised at how much, because I know you've gotten feedback from a lot of politicians in the States, were you surprised that there's politicians outside of the States that are really enjoying Veep?
You know, I think initially, yes, because, like, you know, if you go back and you watch the thick of it, a lot of that, you know, as an American, you can still enjoy it. And it actually did teach me a lot about the British system of government, or the UK's government, over the course of time that I watched it. But I do think that, like, I wondered, like, you know, it's American government. Obviously, people know a lot about it. But I think ultimately, like, making fun of politicians is a universal language. So even if your country's political system doesn't look exactly like ours or work exactly like ours, or if the, you know, how your constitution is put together, or even if you have one at all, like, no matter what, everybody likes making fun of politicians. So I think in now, like, with hindsight, it makes a little more sense that people were into it in other countries.
And stuff like the pettiness, the ambition,
Yes.
the hypocrisy and stuff is somewhat universal to politics.
Yeah, pettiness and ambition and hypocrisy are borderless.
Yeah. And incompetence.
And incompetence, that's certainly borderless too. Although it seems like we currently do, we don't actually have the copyright on that.
Yeah, you guys are doing a good job of it at the moment.
Yeah.
I think that's what's so great about, like, Veep, is it does really encapsulate that sort of selfish ambition and incompetence, like, as things that go together. Like, you know, you've seen a lot of shows of sort of the selfish ambition, the selfishly ambitious politician, but usually they're, like, conniving and, like, in a really genius way. But
No, everybody in our show is an absolute idiot. Like, they have the desire to be conniving, but they're just not smart enough to do it. And one of the things that I also really like is I feel like there are on other shows that might do this, that have characters that are this despicable, that there might be a moment in them where, you know, some music plays and it kind of shows you why, this person might really be a good person at heart. And it is really fun being on a show that doesn't do that at all. Like, there is no apology for these people, and even moments where you do feel some sort of sympathy or empathy toward them, that feeling is never rewarded. You are never left feeling like you made the right decision by having some empathy for them. They'll always make you regret it by especially with Jonah, like some terrible behavior or some awful thing that he says to someone.
Yeah. Although Jonah did say this season, good things do happen to good people.
Good things happen to good people. They really do. And in his heart, I do think that is like one of the things that might draw people to him, is that, like, in his heart, like, he does think that he's a good person doing a good job. And when he wakes up in the morning, he goes after what he wants, and he does it in the worst way possible. But yeah, like, he does truly think that he's a good person and he's made good decisions. So yeah, God bless him.
Yeah, God bless Jonah Ryan.
Yeah.
In an episode, one of the recent episodes, you smashed something. Was it a clock or something like that?
Yeah, because I've been so anti-daylight saving time.
Yeah, and that was a callback to the campaign ad where you tried chopping a tree, right?
Yeah.
Like, it looked like exactly the same image.
I was as inefficient at both things. And this is a weird thing that I was almost positive was going to make it into the cut, but it didn't. I think we just had to be out of there so quickly. Was that and this was for real. They just put a clock there. It was just some prop clock that they had a bunch of them. I don't know if they fabricated it or if they had just bought a bunch of cheap matching ones so I could smash them. We had a fake sledgehammer, the one that I like used at the beginning, and then I would pause sort of at the top of the hit, and then they would hand me like a foam sledgehammer to hit JP Manu's foot with, so that I didn't, break his toes. But they did, okay, we'll do one take just with the regular sledgehammer, with the real sledgehammer, and actually hit the clock, and just in case, like, just so we have it, just in case we need to be out a little bit quicker or whatever. And I smashed, it was like a 60-pound sledgehammer, and I hit that thing as hard as I could, and it did nothing. Something about the craftsmanship of the world's cheapest clock, it did nothing. It smashed nothing. The sledgehammer bounced off of it. Like, Tim Simons, was as inept at smashing wood or chopping wood as the character was in that moment. It was pretty embarrassing. I have to say, it was pretty embarrassing. And it was done in front of like a crowd of 40 people.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. We're talking about like moments and lines and things like that. Last season when we chatted, you said in the upcoming episode, which was the documentary episode, that you had the line that you thought was the most quintessential Jonah line you'd ever said on Veep, which you weren't 100% sure made the cut, so maybe we didn't see it. But I have written down, like, I have a guess as to what that line is from the show.
I think you're going to be right. Yeah, what's your guess?
Well, I want to hear what I've got it written down, so I want to hear what you said is first, and then
I'm eating so much pussy, I'm shitting clit, son. That's it.
Yes, that's what I've written. That's the only note I've written.
Do you actually have it on your paper?
Yeah, there it is. I mean, I'm shitting clit, son.
So, it absolutely is. That was Eric Kenward, who's one of our writers. I think he's been a writer on Saturday Night Live forever, and he's been on Saturday Night Live forever, and is an incredible writer. And he wrote that episode, and it really is like that. Like, however many lines that I'm eating so much pussy, I'm shitting clits, son. In those 9 words, it is just that character boiled down to its essential, or to his essential elements. Like, that is the entire character in 9 words. And I still can't get over it. And every time I see Eric, I thank him, because it's such a good fucking line. But yeah, and the fact also situationally, he says it in front of a room full of elementary school students.
Peter McNichols, like, we're in elementary school. Like, it's just so good.
Yeah. I think he calls it, my uncle calls me a spewing animal in that moment. But no, that was the one. That's the one.
Who do you think Jonah was on the phone to?
Oh, I pictured it as one of like my, not a specific one, but I think I pictured it as like one of my former roommates from college, or like just out of college. Like, maybe like, some guy is still probably working on the Hill, is an assistant somewhere, hates the fact that I'm running for Congress, hates the fact that that I may win, but like has to pick up my calls just because there's a possibility that I might win. Like, he probably hates talking to me too, but he has to pick up just in case. And so I pictured it as that person. Yeah.
It's a guy like, how am I doing? I mean, so much shit and glitz, son.
I'll tell you. Yeah.
And that scene cost Peter McNichol an Emmy nomination, and perhaps
I know. Of all the things, like that 10 seconds, like his appearance in that show. And I think what ended up happening was when he was submitted, he was only, I can't remember what the rule is. I think it's like you can't be in 1/2 or more of the produced episodes. So he could appear in 4 or fewer and be up for best guest star, or best guest actor, or something like that. But if you're in 5 or more, then you're I don't know, a regular, or you would be up for them best supporting actor. And that 10 seconds, that line, that scene, was not written when they submitted him, or when he was submitted. So by the time it came around, he then had appeared in 5 episodes because of that one scene, which was a bummer, because like Peter McNichol was incredible last year, and I'm glad that he gets the recognition, whether or not it's nominations or wins. I want Peter McNichol to be recognized for the work he did, just because it was fucking amazing.
Yeah, and like, what do you do? Do you cut the funniest line in an episode of a show for animation reasons?
Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah, we debated that at Gold Derby. Like, we were like, there were different opinions on stuff. Like, so, what was there a particular line you improvised, or moment you improvised this season on the show you're particularly proud of?
I think good things happen to good people was one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one was me. That one just kind of came up in a take, and I think that was just kind of like one of the things that we talked about in the writer's room and in rehearsal a little bit, and at table reads, was just this idea that it would be funny if Jonah was this kind of doting boyfriend, despite all his bluster and his talk of how many people, like his sort of sexual conquest, that he would be a pretty doting boyfriend. And I think it just played into that. Like, that whole scene is her being like, yeah, there's a ring paid for at Tiffany's, pick it up by 6. And he just thinks this is the most romantic, like, lovely thing. And I think that he thinks that everybody around him, Kent and Ben in particular, like, see how good this relationship is for him and for them. And so I think it just came out of that. Like, it just kind of played into that idea of just how smitten he is by this woman who just is disgusted by him.
How much if Jonah could watch this season of Veep, how disappointed do you think he'd be that Catherine and Margaret didn't ask him to be a sperm donor for their job?
Oh, super upset. Yeah. Like, even just based on the fact that he's tall, like, you should be going after it for that. Like, I'm sure that they think I'm a sociopath and have like genetic disorder, not only physical genetic disorders that I would pass on, but also mental genetic disorders that I would pass on. I think he would, in his heart, just be like, you know what? I'm the most successful, I'm the best looking one here. I'm very tall, and that's going to be well regarded in the future. So I think that they are making a terrible mistake with that. Yeah.
And I do feel like one of Catherine's first scenes, you're hitting on her, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So he would have thought like, oh, this would be great. Like,
there was a part of me that always thought it would be really funny that, and I'm glad that it never happened. But there was a part of me that was like, I wonder if, like, maybe, like, in some weird way of getting back at her mom who treats her so terribly, does she actually get together with Jonah? I always thought that would be funny. I'm glad it never happened, because the marriage to Marjorie and the kid and all that has been so incredible. And Clea Duvall has been such an amazing addition to the show that that I don't ever want that. Now, knowing what I know now, I don't want that. But yeah.
What do you think, what was the most fun moment on set for you this season?
You know, doing those, that's a good question. I mean, anytime, well, the episode that just aired, the scene in the Oval Office was really fun. Like, kind of the discovery of how to make that it was so incredibly awkward was really fun. Like, that whole idea that he's going to say, like, that he's like that, like, that's not a threat, that's a promise, when he's saying that he won't rape the president. Like, that was really fun to discover, because of just how awful it was. But I really enjoyed doing, like, the speeches on the congressional floor, or on the House floor. Those I really enjoyed, like, going back through, and I went back through and looked at a lot of, like, just videos of people giving speeches, and heartfelt ones, and tried to look at some of the procedures of how they speak and what rhythm do they use. Like, those I really enjoyed, because they could be this sort of awkward, heartfelt combo. And then also on top of that, whatever I would say, everything I was saying was so dumb that you're saying just like the dumbest thing in the most meaningful way in like one of the most revered rooms in the entire country. Like, you should rise to the occasion of being in that room, and this is a man who just does not. So those I really enjoyed, like his anti-school lunch bill, and this idea I think is my favorite joke of the entire year. And I think Rachel Axler, one of our writers, was the one that either came up with it or modified it into the only green bean I ate was a green jelly bean, and I grew so tall my stupid mom had to get a different car. I think that was Rachel Axler's, and that was one of my favorite lines of the entire year.
Yeah. I hear, Tim, that you are, of the whole Veep cast, the greatest golf cart racer.
Oh, yes. I am. I think it's because, like, I think, what do they say? Like, that's the mother of invention. Necessity is the mother of invention. And I'm just pretty lazy. And they always have production golf carts around, and so I just try to steal them as much as I can. Just because, like, if sometimes I'm just lazy. I think it's fun too. Like, we're on a lot. Like, we're on the Paramount lot, and we're in Hollywood. And it feels like old Hollywood to drive around and on a golf cart and around the lot. So I really like doing that. So I try to steal them as much as I can to go get coffee or go to the commissary or whatever. Although that did backfire last year. Sam and I stole one, and we thought we were getting away with it. And it turned out that they were recharging it, and we got stuck halfway through the lot, and we had to push it all the way back, quite embarrassingly.
It's such a Jonah and Richard moment.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. No, Reed Scott said you were the best of everyone on the cast.
It's just because I'm a lazy thief.
Yeah. You also said you're doing selfie videos and stuff while you're driving them around and everything.
Yeah, we were doing, that was all for, when we were doing that was all for when I was doing selfie videos. I would do Q&As I did one with Gary Cole, I did one with Reed, I think I did one with Matt, because we were running like a charity campaign. We were auctioning off a set visit, which I think, for anybody listening, I think we're going to end up doing that again next year. So stay tuned. So I would, in order to attract people to the idea of like getting bidding on buying like a $10 token to get like entry into our raffle to win a set visit, we would do these Q&As where I would have them drive around the lot, and I would selfie video a Q&A.
And finally, Tim, what is something you hope to see in Veep in the future?
Selfishly, I hope to see the rivalry between Dan and Jonah continue. That's always been one of my favorite things about the show, or at least, I'm sorry, about like what I'm able to do in it. Like the fact that they have been just against each other from the first moment, but they kind of can't live without one another. Also, selfishly, I want to do. I didn't see a lot of Sam this year because he was working with Julia's team, like with Selena Meyer's team. So selfishly, I kind of want to see a little bit more of Sam, and I want to see more of Selena being mean to Catherine. Like that to me is just it's like sweet cream. It is the most lovely, beautiful, awful thing that I can ever imagine.
Yeah. Well, Timothy, it's so great to see Veep do so well at the Emmys. All the best of luck with this year, with yourself in the supporting race. How great was it to see Matt Walsh nominated last year?
Oh my God, that was amazing. Like, I mean, like, we have a really fucking amazing group of people that we work with on this show, and I just like to see both Tony. I mean, obviously, deservedly, Tony's nominated again, and just see Walsh in there with him was fucking incredible. So I don't know, it's great.
Yeah, there was a year when no supporting actors from Veep got nominated, like the first season of the show, and now.
Is that? I thought Tony got nominated the first year. Did he not? I mean, I could be wrong.
I think he broke through in the second.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I like that Tony's in there every year.
Yeah. Two-time winner.
Two-time winner. My God, I know. You go over to his house, and it's just. Did you know that he's not the first Emmy winner in his home?
His wife works in, is it lighting or set?
She worked in hair and makeup for Saturday Night Live.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So she worked in hair and makeup for Saturday Night Live, and I'm not sure if that's what the Emmy was for. But I just love the fact that you go to their house and there are 3 Emmys there, and the first one was not won by Tony Hale.
Yeah. Oh no, that's good. That's really
good.
And so that's a really tough category you guys are in, because and I was saying this to Reed yesterday. Even if Veep was the only show eligible in this category, you still might not all get nominated. You still wouldn't all get nominated.
There are just physically too many. There's Sam, Reed, Walshy, Tony, Kevin, Gary, who else? I think that's all the dudes. I just don't think there's physically enough space. Like, that's 8 people.
Yeah, there's so many people. So, and then you've got to compete with people from other shows too.
Yeah. Oh my God. And there are it's a tough category. I mean, if you look at Atlanta's been incredible. Atlanta's an incredible show, and I just it's tough, man. But it's all good things. It's all good things. Like, those shows are incredible. So, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Well, hopefully you get nominated this year, Timothy. That'll be really.
We'll see.
And it's so much fun talking about Veep with you every year. So thanks so much for the time.
Absolutely, man. Great to see you.
Yeah, no worries. Wait. Okay, we're done. We're done, Tim.
All right.